she put it in writing. It was practically her last will and testament. And isn't it pretty much a commandment that you have to do what dead people want you to do? Especially with their bodies? Baker mashed his face into the blanket underneath us and groaned. Then he got to his knees and heaved a frustrated sigh. You're really going to tell her all of it? That Grim Hesper's living here, and she's selling this place, and it's about 3 inches away from being bulldozed, and about the money and the will, and the reason those things are important, because Great Grammy's... I propped up on my elbows and glared straight into his eyeballs. Yes, because she's D-E-A-D, Baker. Dead. Baker cringed, then slowly backed out of our office. For a second, I felt guilty. Maybe I should have been helping Baker. But our aunt had to come home. Even she would be shocked by how despicable dear Grim Hesper had become. I turned back to the keyboard. Letter by letter, I typed the impossible-to-believe words. Aunt Tilly, I better get to the point. We put Great Grammy in the basement freezer, and we're pretending she's alive until you come home. But like I said, we have a very good reason. 1 degree. Remember how I said the whole thing started in March? It was a normal Saturday morning, the first official weekend of spring. Sunny and cool, but warming fast. We'd just devoured an entire plate of Baker's sticky buns, and the 3 of us were stuffed. According to Great Grammy, who might have been older than dirt, as she often joked, but was stronger than most men half her age, that meant we were ready for a day of yard work. Great Grammy and I dragged rakes and tarps from the garage to the middle of the front yard, next to her favorite seahorse bird bath. The winter had been long, with a ton of heavy wet snow, and we had 10 acres of mess to clean up. As usual, I was griping about it. I spread a tarp on the ground and straightened the corners. Where's Baker? Oh, he disappeared that-a-way, said Great Grammy, picking up a stick and waving it eastward. She brought the stick to the bird bath and began scraping the layers of slimy leaves, flicking pieces of muck into the air. With the weather getting better, the birds will be looking for a place to shake off winter. She let the stick drop to the ground and squinted back at the house. I need the hose to do this properly. Next thing I knew, she was galloping across the yard, over groundhog humps and holes, and zigzagging around the wackadoo yard art you could probably see from outer space. When she got to the spigot by the front porch, she slung the first 10 feet of hose over her shoulder and started the same maniac dance back to the bird bath. Only this time she was dragging the longest garden hose in the history of online shopping. I snuck a glimpse at the McMansions that straddled our property and cringed, imagining the neighbors watching through binoculars. At least the family graveyard was hidden back in the woods where nobody could see. No way I wanted people knowing about that. Great Grammy, please, walk like a normal person. She harumphed and kept going. What is this normal of which you speak, Rose Marigold? I swallowed my explanation that whatever normal was, her whole dance, her yard sculptures, including the 8-foot-tall alligator rock band and Home Sweet Home ornament shaped like a house that welcomed everybody to our long driveway, and almost everything about her, were the exact opposite. Especially here in suburban Maryland, on 10 acres of land just 9.3 miles from the White House. Home Sweet Home, please. The only sweet thing about our house was Baker's cookies. I looked back at the closest McMansion. Carlene King, a neighbor who was a grade below me, had the perfect view of our past-its-peak house and most of our property, no binoculars necessary. The Kings moved in a year ago, and Carlene had been working overtime trying to be best friends. At first I was polite, since Great Grammy insisted I needed a friend. Carlene had a "the sun is shining every day" personality. Maybe she'd tolerate my supposed moods. Carlene's mom was a different story. Mrs. King was a well-known news anchor for a local television station in Washington, D.C. Every time